Hello, I want to do a reading for you this morning. I guess it's afternoonish, really. I wanted to do a reading, and so I pulled some cards that came out, and it looks like, according to the chart that I'm working with right now, I'm doing Cancer Rising. So you could either identify with Cancer Rising, or you can identify with the message that's coming through as far as what I'm talking about. So in the Cancer Rising chart that I have going on over here, there we go. The first thing I'm looking for is what comes out in the cards. Now, the North and South Node have transitioned away from the career and home space, and it's moved more into our educational spaces, but sometimes it's also like our undiscovered truths kind of area. We're learning big eye-opening lessons in some kind of way. Now, obviously, sometimes the big eye-opening energies can come through relationships, and look, we have Venus here, but look, there's Cancer again, right? So the first thing I'm going to look for is, where is Venus? So in this chart over here that I'm looking at, Venus is in conjunction with Saturn in the 9th house. Now, that conjunction alone asks for what we're going to become serious on and what we are breaking away from. They're both at 25 degrees. So I would, just for, shits and giggles, look up in degree theory, what is 25 degrees of Pisces, right? I don't have it off the top of my head, but we're going to write that down in my little notes. 25 degrees of Pisces. Now, in that area of our higher beliefs, sometimes it can be spiritual beliefs, it can also be educational, it can be sometimes judicial. I don't know why that word's coming to me. I guess Venus energy has a lot to do with it, but it has a lot to do with how our relationships have a tendency to change or enhance what we believe in and our how we believe in something. Now, this energy, the Strength card came out, which in this chart rules over the 2nd house. Now, traditionally, Venus rules over the 2nd house, aka Taurus, in like a traditional astrology wheel. So that shows me that I need to look at the 2nd house. Now, this one came in reverse, right? So Strength, what's the opposite of Strength? Not feeling strong. So I'm looking at Leo, and the moon currently in this moment is in the 2nd house, which means that we may be emotional towards money, emotional towards our self-esteem, especially if it revolves around a relationship, or something like literally the food that we're eating or consuming, or what we're choosing to do when we experience emotional somethings. Now, this card has a tendency to always make me think about Beauty and the Beast. And the rose being held behind the glass is kind of like sometimes trying to protect our heart from something, right? And when our self-esteem is ruled by the house of Leo, it means that it needs to come from a place of being seen, needing to be seen. So the next card I got is the King of Diamonds, and it has the energy of Jupiter there. So in this chart here, Jupiter's in the 12th house. And the 12th house is the house of the hidden, sometimes a house of isolation or imprisonment. Sometimes we can be hermits, right? but it's also got the energy of Pisces. So that takes me right back to where Venus is. So let's ask ourselves, what about what's happening in our mind right now is being affected by our thoughts and our beliefs, our self-esteem, our physical worth, or our financial health in some kind of way, sometimes our actual physical health. This energy has a lot to do with, it's ruled by water. So the first thing you want to think about is going with the flow of whatever it is, including your emotions. Sometimes we have to self-check what we're thinking about, but sometimes there may be just too much self-check, and we may not being able to access certain thoughts, memories, dreams, sometimes intuitiveness maybe. The vertex and anti-vertex are in Gemini and in Sagittarius. So that's the 12th house and the 6th house axis. So belief patterns can be affecting our mental and physical health. They show up more in the physical health. And they can be stimulated by something we're doing. Now, there's an active kite in the sky in this chart. I'm going to let you see what I'm looking at. Let me zoom out of it real quick. So this is what I'm looking at, right? And so we have this area right here is going to point to both the 5th house, the 9th and the 10th house-ish, the 1st and the 2nd house, but see how this down here, this is the kite part. It's still pointing to the nodes. So even though these areas are active, we're still looking at belief systems, career, home, and our local environments. Now, sometimes the 3rd house can be considered the junk drawer. So, sometimes if it's talking to the 12th house, we have a tendency to repress or sometimes deny certain things and kind of shove it back where we can't find it. But normally, the North Node is focusing a lot on our identity, our healthy self-esteems and financial health, our local communities, asking ourselves what's changing, moving, lost and found, home environments, how they're being influenced by work, our 5th house, which is our children, our joy, our creativity, and our health. So it's like the whole bottom half of the chart is being asked to be looked at. And normally we have a tendency to look towards the North Node and forget sometimes the South Node. So if you're having a tendency to fixate on one particular area, there may be, the junk drawer is what have we forgotten, what has gone lapsed, what has gone awry, what has gone missing that needs to be found. It's probably exactly where you left it, but you just don't remember, something stupid like that. And then we got the 3 of Spades, which is ruled by Mercury, which is basically in conjunction right now between both the North Node and the Mean Node. And the difference between that is the True Node is where the calculations have it, basically where it's supposed to be, and then there's the Mean Node, which is like, it's about maybe 2 degrees off, so there's a variance in it in some kind of way. So when I did the math for everything, obviously 5 change, but definitely in this chart, something about the 5th house can be important. So for example, someone who is a Cancer, who could possibly be a female, something to do with children, that could be showing up. Paying attention to diet and health, or because the 6th house is in Sagittarius, want to make sure that we're walking of some sort, or when we're experiencing a stressful event where we need to process something, walk it out is probably a good answer for that. Now, this can also be like 3 of Swords energy. there we go. Three of Swords energy, which if we look across the street from the first house of Cancer, we have Capricorn. So Capricorn is a very hardworking type of energy, stable, consistent, and there's something about needing stable and consistency while one feels unstable, because we have Mars in the first house of Cancer. So that means that right now the season of feeling emotionally turbulent or frustrated, or everything just seems to be triggering, or feeling very protective of oneself or family, or literally of oneself. Now, Mercury has ended its retrograde basically today. So paying attention to communications that came from a heart space of someone that we care about, sometimes a significant other, right? Significant other, ring, also ruled by Venus. Sometimes potentially somebody could have a delayed move. They were supposed to move a little while ago. There were some weird hiccups and he's moved now. Somebody could literally be getting engaged, you know, little things like that. But to me, and then look, this is also, I don't know if you can see that, 25, there we go, sorry, it took a second. So in this chart, the part of fortune, which is in the 5th house, which is, again, children, creativity, it is joy centers, different things like that. That's at 25 degrees. And at 25 degrees in Pisces, we have the mean node. So the cards add up today, talking about the North Node. Latita, which means joy, and Via, which is in the way. Something's in the way. Somebody who's experienced some sort of delay. Something's been in the way. Something's delayed gratification of some sort. Mars is also at 25 degrees. Which 25, 2 and 5, 7 relationship sector. Let's see, I'm going to look for... We're seeing a trine from Uranus from the 11th house. Somebody could be having a difficult relationship with a female. Could be it should end up showing up as a positive energy, but I would say give it a little bit of time. About a month of delays can end up in something positive happening. I still, when I did all the math of everything, I still have career new beginnings showing up, because that's where the eclipse happened in this chart. But it's, which means could be a falling away from a career in some kind of way, doing something different. Anything that has changed over the last, since, think about when February 14th happened, that was when the first eclipse happened. Anything around February 14th that has transpired over the last month and into the next month, pay attention to. Even little things become big things. Anything that feels like it's a stuck energy, a hurdle of some sort, is going to be moved, and pay attention to any, because we got Venus showing up so many times, pay attention to any female figures in your life that either help create change or help create hurdles. I hope that was helpful today, guys. Have a good day.